Hello and welcome to part 2 of RPGs on the PlayStation. I pulled together another handful of titles to show you. Now remember, these episodes are more of like a collector's guide, talking about sort of the rarity, how expensive the game is, how hard it is to find now, those type of things. So I won't go into too much detail about each individual game, just sort of like a, hey, check it out, and if you're interested, go, find out some more info on it. So here we go. Up first is one of the must-play titles, in my opinion, in the RPG genre on PlayStation, and that would be Dragon Warrior 7. Now, this is Japan's #1 selling PlayStation game of all time, and ended up doing around 4.14 million copies sold in Japan. Obviously, it even beat out Final Fantasy VII. Now, I think it is the second highest selling game in the series, though. Dragon Quest IX on the DS ended up beating it out. If you've ever played any of the Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior games, it's fairly easy to jump into another one in the series because they all play pretty similar. You kind of get the basic, structure and idea right from the get-go. There are a few in the series that are different, but for the majority, like the mainline ones, are all roughly the same. A copy of this tends to go for around $40 or so, complete. If it's super shiny, then maybe up to like the $50 or $60 range, but it's not terribly uncommon, but it has ended up holding its value pretty well because it's such a damn good title. The Parasite Eve titles on the PlayStation are pretty interesting, Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 is more of a RPG with horror elements added to it. Part 2 is like the opposite. It's more of a horror game with RPG elements added. I think by the time this came out in 2000, the popularity of like the Resident Evil series and even Silent Hill might have influenced Squaresoft to go more in the horror direction. Now both of these titles are fairly common and not too expensive. Part 1, the original release, what this is, that comes with a bonus disc, goes for like maybe 20 bucks or so. Part 2, a little bit more, $25, $30 at the most. I just recently sold a Greatest Hits copy of this because this was the very last not Greatest Hits PlayStation title I needed for my collection. No, I don't have a complete PS1 collection, every game on the system or anything, just the ones I own. This was the last one I needed, so I'm happy to finally have it. Vanguard Bandits is a strategy RPG put out by Working Designs. It's very shiny. I've talked about it a few times in the past in other videos, I think one of them being one of the rare games I own videos. This game is held at the price point of around like 60 or 70 bucks for quite a while. Sometimes it'll go a little cheaper than that if it's missing its Lunar 2 demo CD. It is a challenging game, very cool. I like the storyline to it a lot. So if you're a fan of like strategy RPGs or tactical games, check it out. It looks like we're going to finish off this episode with tactics and strategy games. Tactics Ogre and Ogre Battle are next. Tactics Ogre goes between like $50 and $70 for a complete copy. Ogre Battle hangs around like the $50 mark. Now, a lot of people that started playing games in this genre began with like Final Fantasy Tactics, also on the PlayStation, but Tactics Ogre actually came out first and tends to get forgotten. They also did a port of this on the PSP, and the subtitle of that is Let Us Cling Together, and then there is a Game Boy Advance Tactics Ogre, and that is The Knight of Lotus. Ogre Battle originally came out on the N64, and then this is the like ported version that had enhanced graphics, and they called it the limited edition. The last game for this episode is one of the best garage sale pickups I ever had. It is Brigandine. I ended up getting it for like a few bucks at a garage sale. I've mentioned that in past videos as well. Now, this is a strategy RPG put out by Atlas, and the price of this has actually seemed to have gone up a little bit more since the last time I mentioned it. It's hanging around like the $80 price point for an average, but a few copies have sold for $100 recently. And it always seems to depend on if it has the little map inside or not. Awesome title, another really challenging one, but with a really deep, in-depth story. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a little bit shorter than I originally planned, because today, me and my wife and some friends went to a zoo in Orlando, like 2 hours away, and we also went to Medieval Times, which is where me and my wife got married a little over 2 years ago. We hadn't been back there since, so it was kind of a long drive, got home a little late, so that's my excuse why this one doesn't have like 10 games in it compared to, like part 1, so anyways, there will be more in the next episode, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace!